Tania steadying himself! A star in the making. And there's the only goal! Sabini with it! After 11 years, once again, Milan are the champions of Italy.
Ciao ragazzi, and welcome to another edition of Serie A Sitdown, World Football Index's podcast for your Calcio to go. I'm Frank Crivello, and he's father again, Richard Carmen. Azzurri,
should do the Babetto.
You should. Why not? Congratulations to you and your wife on child number 2, man.
Yeah.
That must be coffee. That's got to be coffee.
It is coffee. I don't get any sleep these days. I forget what it's like. Hence why we did the Inter Roma preview at 5 a.m. Eastern time on Saturday morning. It's because I'm up at all different hours now.
I even looked at that. I was like, damn, you did that early. When I was like trying to, I went back and I looked like, damn, when is he sneaking this thing in? So, oh man, good for you.
And for the chat, podcast times will not change. We're just adding extra videos and streams at the odd hours. So podcast will still remain the same time. So
yeah, Richard will be in between sleep and just having an idea for a video and just going to jump on and do the video.
Yep,
so
pretty much.
Oh man.
Otherwise good. Otherwise I'm good.
What was the question from Dominic?
Podcast. Will the podcast times change?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So, no, we're still trying to be in the Sunday 8:30 p.m. Eastern slot. Hopefully you raise that child to be a Milan fan. Yes.
I will do better than you.
Yes. You know what?
Hopefully.
That he watches and takes an interest, I'll take that. I'll take it.
Exactly.
I'll take it. And right now it's fun. I can pound on him because Milan won the title last year, and
that's right.
And Milan's ahead in the table this year. So, although he's kind of fired up after how Juve performed today, and we'll get into that. We'll get into everything that happened and has yet to happen, because I believe we have a Monday game, if I'm not mistaken. We have Udinese
and Hellas
Verona.
Yeah.
And I believe Udinese is traveling to Hellas Verona for that.
Correct.
Correct. Yes. Okay. So, So how are things otherwise?
Things are good. Cannot complain. Watching lots of football. Obviously, I got a lot of time on my hands now. So things are good. And also shout out to Maria Caputi, the first female referee to head a game in the Sassuolo game early today. So congrats to her as well. So yeah, things are good with me.
And she did a fine job too.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
So that's that is progress. That is progress that we hope to see more of here in the future. So beats the definitely was better than anyone could have been better than the referee in my son's game yesterday.
Was Lisi in that one?
No. We had a guy, an older guy, believe it or not, that didn't understand that corner kicks exist. Like if the ball goes out over the end line, last touch by the defense, it should be a corner kick. And 3 times my son's team should have had a corner kick. It was a goal kick. Even the other team's coach tried to tell the referee it's a corner kick, and the referee yelled at him and said, no, it's a goal kick. So we had that going on.
You guys need VAR.
Yeah. I don't know if it's in the clubs or the state association's budget to implement that. So I mean, hard enough to get referees as it is. So you want to make sure. And it was interesting because I talked to the coach about it today because they had another game. They had another game today, and I talked to the coach and I said, "What'd you say to him at halftime?" And he said, "I'm not trying to be mad at you. I'm not mad. I'm not mad at you. I don't disapprove of. He's like, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to communicate with you." I said, I know the coach. I know the coach of the other team was trying to go through that whole spiel. Was trying to make sure. But that was 42 years of being involved in this game since I started playing at 5 years old. At the age of 5, I've never seen a referee not understand that corner kicks exist. So that was hard to it. That was a difficult adjustment.
Oh my gosh, I imagine.
So, but alas, here we are. And it's, other than that, things are good. Kids are enjoying their soccer right now, and it's why I can't get a Calcio connection. Jerry Mancini keeps that. I remember that episode when you guested with him, and I wasn't invited, and I was like, "Geez, thanks for the invite, guys." And Jerry's like, "I'm sick of asking Frank on the show. He can never make it. His kids are always in soccer." And then Alex is like, "We'll invite him next week." And I was in the chat, and I said, "My kids have soccer next week." So,
sad but true. Your kids are always playing soccer, so that's good. That's good. Growing the academy.
Keep them moving. Keeps them from being in the house, destroying the house. So.
That's right.
Anyway, so we're going to get into this. We're going to get into everything that happened here in match week 8, as we said. But we do need to touch on Italy. Let's discuss that one first. They beat England 1-0 at home in Milan, and then they follow that up by winning at Hungary, a Hungary that beat Germany. And Italy wins that 2-0 to win a very difficult group in the Nations League and qualify for the semifinals with Croatia, Spain, and the Netherlands. Which that'll be a very intriguing semifinal, no doubt. Yeah. So let me start with this question here, because I think that there's, I felt like the Calcio Twitter ranks, and maybe I wasn't paying enough attention to it. I think it was like almost like a subdued celebration. Like it was, oh, you can go and do that, but you can't qualify for the World Cup. Did you feel that way? Because I would celebrate this. This is, and I'll get into my reasons why, but I want to get your feeling about Italy here. Winning this very competitive group and qualifying for the semifinals of the Nations League.
I did get that feeling. And I can see why, because it appears that when the games don't matter, the friendlies, the competitive friendlies, the Azzurri do well. And then when it's actually time when it matters to play in the prestigious tournament, which is the World Cup, they shit the bed. And it's infuriating because you see what they did at the Euros. It was great. And then the Nation Leagues, they do well. And you're like, okay, where's this for the World Cup? We missed 2 World Cups now. It's ridiculous what's going on here. And it's mind-boggling. I get it. I agree with you. It should be celebrated because they're in a final. I mean, imagine if they win the Nations League, right? Let's just play devil's advocate. If they win the Nations League, the hysteria is going to be, oh, you can win the Nations League, but you can't qualify for the World Cup, right? And the teams are going to beat possibly are great teams that will all be contending for the World Cup. So, it's a funny dynamic, I guess, with the Nations League. And I agree. Celebrate the victory because they beat Hungary, who was very good, and beat Germany as well, beat England. So they did what they had to do, won the group, which who would have thought of that, especially the place where they're at. They look like they might get relegated, and they come and win the group after the couple match days. So, interesting times. Again, didn't make the World Cup, but certainly should be celebrating the Nations League victory and going into the finals with the other 3 teams. So,
well, okay, so here's the couple of things that I want to draw attention to here. What ultimately kept them from qualifying for the World Cup? A failure to score goals and a failure to score goals in critical moments, right? But let's peel the onion back a little bit on that. I mean, what else did Mancini do, throughout the final stages of World Cup qualifying and then up to the playoff against North Macedonia? He played the same guys. He kept playing the same guys. He kept playing a Nicola Barella who could barely run. He was playing like every 3 days between club and country for like a year and a half. He kept trying to play a Ciro Immobile in the hopes that, okay, this time he's really going to do it. He kept going back to the same thing over and over and over again. And it's not that it's not that Italy were found out. It's that they weren't in the I don't think they were at the fitness levels. I don't think that they were at the freshness. I don't think that they were at the motivation that they were at the Euros. I think that you had a handful of these guys pretty much running on fumes.
You see Dominic's point there? I think Dominic brings up a good point that maybe he showed too much loyalty to the team that won the Euros.
Right, and we talked about this when they didn't qualify. It was time to flip this a little bit. There's too many guys here playing way too many games, and I think it's catching. It certainly was catching up to them. And so the reason why, a big reason why I think this needs to be celebrated is when you look at the team that he put out there against England. You can't imagine a worse Italy team.
I know
for that game. I mean, that's like the immediate reaction.
5'2" guy starting at a striker, like Raspadori.
Unless you played Ranocchia back there, but look at it. It was different players, and it was a different system, 3-5-2. And when I reflect on this, I'm looking at past Italy coaches. None of them were willing to adapt. Mancini looked at the World Cup qualification failure and said, "Okay, I got to mix this up.
Yeah,
and I've got to tailor to the strengths of what I've got." He maximized Federico Di Marco's talents to a T. Somebody said it. I can't remember who said it on Twitter. Said Federico Di Marco's left foot is a cheat code. Yes, it is. I mean, he's outstanding over the 2 games.
Well, absolutely.
Raspadori with the goals. 3-man defense, 2 capable defenders that you can play on either side of Bonucci so that Bonucci's not part of a 2-man center defense where he has to absorb more defensive responsibility because, as we've been saying, at this stage in his career, he just isn't the defender that he used to be. But, man, he's still got the long ball, doesn't he?
He does.
And he can still pick one out. That beautiful assist to Raspadori in the win over England. That was at least a 60-yard pass.
Yeah, he's always done well at those.
Yeah. So taking a look at the squad that was available to him and coming up with a system that makes it work, we know damn well Ventura wouldn't do that.
No.
Conte was stubborn in his 3-5-2 in the Euros, and yet he had success because he probably had a worse Italy to pick from than Mancini ever had, even this group.
Yeah.
Lippi would not only not change his system, he would not change his players. He remained loyal to the guys that won in 2006, and that blew up in his face in 2010.
Yeah.
Prandelli, I think he rotated a little bit, but he got him to the final in 2012 in the Euro final. But then 2014, I think his approach just got stale with the players. So for me, I think you got to celebrate this. Okay. To win a group that had Germany and England in it. Okay. And a good Hungary side. I mean, this Hungary side is good. And when you can relegate England.
Yeah. Chin chin.
Yeah. I mean, it just kind of sweetens things. And to do it with a willingness to adapt. We have not seen that from an Italy manager in decades. So, I think that's an encouraging thing. The best part of this whole weekend
was that we possibly found a striker who is not Immobile or Belotti in Raspadori. He's a little guy, plays a false 9, but he does it well. Scored in both games, right? So there's that. And then potentially you're going to have Scamacca, because Scamacca's starting to do some things in West Ham. He's slowly coming along. Mm-hmm. So imagine having a thunder and lightning combination of Scamacca and Raspadori, where you could, depending on who you're playing, you could change them up. Raspadori looked like he scores already, but maybe Scamacca comes along and maybe someone else comes along in the fold down the mix. Maybe Lorenzo Colombo down the line, right? But Raspadori, I think that's the best thing I saw from the whole Nations League international break, is that we have a striker who can play the false 9, not necessarily your typical striker, but finds a way to get it done. And he succeeded, and they succeeded.
Yeah. So I don't know if the semifinals for that have been established or not. If somebody knows and wants to help us, if Italy has a known opponent, or if they do a draw for that. I didn't look that far ahead. I was just happy to see. Yeah. Just happy to see the performances. I think boy, it's and this is a Serie A pod, this is an Azzurri pod, but what an indictment on England. You take a look at Group B in the World Cup. Iran might win that group now.
England sucks. The USA sucks. Wales isn't that great. It might be Iran. They're pretty decent actually. So
yeah, Iran might win that group
if all their players don't get arrested. But
yeah. So we'll have to see. So it's it's quite interesting. And I don't know if it's a total indictment on Germany. Their 2 games, losing to Hungary. I think
Hungary's good.
Hungary's a good side.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the smartest thing on Germany's part to have that game in Leipzig, with Hungary having 3 players on their team from Leipzig.
Yeah.
So, but I that probably shouldn't have a lot to do with it. But you had to think that at least Gulaxi and Szoboszlai were very motivated. Yeah. At a minimum. So.
I think that the problem, this is a Serie A podcast and a Azzurri podcast, but the problem with England and Germany at the moment is that they've, for the moment, temporarily lost their identity. Yeah. And they're holding on to past relics that aren't getting it done, and they're not adjusting to the times, and that's partly on the managers. Hansi Flick, I think, doesn't get as much blame as Gareth Southgate, but still, the identity is lacking. That's what the Azzurri lacked to miss the World Cup. And what we're seeing out of Hungary is a young team that's starting to develop, and they're going to be a difficult team to play here in the future. But good things for the Azzurri coming up, and it's good to see Mancini adapt and find a new way to play, because eventually when you start playing the big boys in the world, they will adapt to you. You need to have multiple plans. You can't just play one way and hope to win. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. I mean, so that was my biggest takeaway from those games. Mancini's willingness to adjust to what was available to him. So Mancini is willing to try anything but call Calabria up, I think.
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, national team managers have their guys, and they have their guys they don't want. It's a fact of life. I mean, Southgate sent Tomori home before the Germany game and kept Maguire 3-3. So
I watch a lot of English podcasts just because good to listen to, and they all are like, "Why are we starting Harry Maguire? He's the worst defender in the world." They're saying it, so they know it. Yeah.
So, so it's interesting. I mean, I'm still lamenting a World Cup without Italy in it yet again. Yeah. But I mean, this is something that gives you hope that this thing is still in the right direction. Italy hit a bad patch at a bad time that kept them out of the World Cup. But I think the overall health of Italy I think it's in good shape after this. So, and I think that's a conclusion we can make. So, but let's move on to the business of Serie A now that we've gotten through that. Inter and Roma, the spotlight game of the week. Richard, you did a very thorough preview for the people in between sleep cycles. So was glad that you were able to pound that out. But let's get into it. Inter going with Handanovic in goal. Back 3 of Skriniar, Acerbi, and Bastoni. Dumfries and DeMarco as the wingbacks. Barella, Aslani, and Çalhanoğlu in midfield, with Aiden Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez up front. Standard 3-5-2 from Simone Inzaghi. Aslani getting I believe this was his debut start for Inter, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It was.
Okay. Thoughts on this team?
I thought it was a pretty decent lineup considering what they had at their disposal. I mean, obviously, if Lukaku was available and healthy, you would want him to partner Lautaro, but he's not available. He had another setback. And so Dzeko and Lautaro have had a strange relationship thus far, though it has been getting better. And so I thought, considering everything that's going on, Brozovic getting injured, I think he's already suspended anyway, but he was injured during the international break. And so this is probably the best 11 that you could have at the moment, with the Vrij or without the Vrij. But, I thought Acerbi acquitted himself pretty well in this game. The only thing I would say I would change is the goalkeeper. Why the hell is Handanovic still playing in goal? It should be Onana at this point. And, Handanovic, great career, but he should only be getting Coppa Italia matches at this point. He's hurting the team more than anything else. And that is the one big gripe for me with this lineup. But other than that, it's a pretty solid lineup for me.
Okay. I'm with you on that. Roma comes back with Patricio, a back three of their own, Mancini, Smalling, Ibanez, Zeki Celik, and Leonardo Spinazzola on the wingbacks. Two-man center midfield of Matic and Cristante. And Zaniolo, Pellegrini, Dybala. I mean, when you look at the formation, it suggests that it's Pellegrini as the striker. Is it Dybala as the striker? It's Zaniolo as the striker. I mean, really, this is Mourinho is going to just give these are the three guys I'm countering with, and whoever's highest is the striker at that moment, and that's always going to change. And that's what I took from this lineup when I saw it, that there really wasn't going to be someone that's going to be defined to be in the high positions, that it was going to be a lot of rotation from those three guys. Is that what you saw? Is that what you were thinking?
Yeah, well, no, it wasn't what I was thinking. I thought they're going to go with Tammy Abraham up top, and then Pellegrini would be in the middle, Matic would be out, and Cristante would be in there like as he was. And the fact that didn't happen and Abraham was on the bench, I'm like, oh, okay. Mourinho wants to keep this, like you said, a rotation, keep things moving around. If you have Abraham up top, he's the focal point. But if you have these other three guys, Pellegrini, Zaniolo, and Dybala, you could rotate him around, keep Inter on their toes. I thought the key for the matchup was going to be whomever, I thought at the time was Zaniolo, but it doesn't matter, whomever on the left-hand side taking Skriniar one-on-one, because he struggles against pace. We've seen it all season long. And so that's what I thought was going to be a key matchup for me. But it was a pretty good lineup for Roma. Good, obviously, it worked well for them and Mourinho. But a solid lineup. And I know Karsdorp was unavailable, but if he was, Selleck would have been the preferred by Romanisti. The way this Selleck's been playing as of late, and Karsdorp hasn't played well. So I thought this is a pretty good lineup for Roma.
I also think it's a little bit of, okay, you don't start the game with a striker.
Bring them on late.
One of those. What's that?
You can bring them on late when they're tired.
Yeah, it's one of those, because we've seen this, and again, and we have observed this, and we have said this multiple times on this podcast. We've seen big games like this where one manager is willing to do something a little different that will suggest that he's going to give up possession of the ball, or he's going to see possession, and he's going to have extra numbers behind. Which is what Mourinho prefers to do. Let's face it. With this, Roma live best when they can counterattack, and it seems to me this lineup gives them the best chance to set up and do that. And can they absorb for as long and for as much as they possibly can? And then you throw in those couple of attackers after midfielders, after players have expended energy going forward and possessing and shooting, and then all right, now their legs are tired. You're bringing on fresh legs to run at them. Tilt how this game is going, or change the way this game is going. And I thought that we started to see that, we're seeing that a lot. And I thought that we saw that here. I thought overall, Inter played really well. They had more of the possession with the way these lineups were shaken out. We had to expect that. The Dzeko goal in the 12th minute, which was rightfully called back for offside. Yeah. But they do break through Richard in the 30th. It was a DiMarco getting to the inside of Zeki Celik rather easily. Barella sliding one into DiMarco's path. DiMarco finishing. Patricio getting a glove to it, but not getting enough. 1-0, and is this where Roma misses Karsdorp? Does Karsdorp deal with that a little better?
I think so. Karsdorp definitely brings more of the physical aspect at times. I think he probably could have done better, but as the form that Karsdorp's been this season, it could have had a similar result. What you saw was DiMarco playing very smart, getting behind Selleck, and was able to get in there and get a shot off. One timed it beautifully. So I mean, the placement was perfect by DiMarco. Just outstretched Rui Patricio. Should he have saved it? Yes. But honestly, I don't think whether Karsdorp or Selleck, I think DiMarco would have gone in right behind him, because it was just a well-run play off the ball by DiMarco, and Barella doing what Barella does and drops dimes right to DiMarco perfectly. So
perfect. Sorry, I got distracted. Wisconsin fired Paul Christ.
No.
So
who else got fired this weekend? But we'll get to that.
Who?
Giampaolo.
Giampaolo.
Yeah.
So, I think Chris was becoming the Giampaolo of college football.
Oh God.
So, just doing the same thing over and over again, expecting success, and it just everybody's gotten too good for it. Yep. So, all right, well, let's get back to the Calcio. So 1-0 Inter. Roma do counter. They win possession through the middle of the field. Spinazzola moves forward, serves the ball to the backside where Paulo Dybala is there, and a goal of the week candidate. 1-1 Roma. This is what this is how Mourinho set this team up for these kind of chances. 1-1, game on.
Yeah, and it's kind of all started, which I initially was railing on Hakan Çalhanoğlu. He made a similar pass what he did in the derby, where he tries to go across field and it got intercepted. But I was rightly corrected by Uncle Sharma, who said the pass was actually pretty good by Hakan Çalhanoğlu. It was Barella who messed the pass. It goes past him. Spinazzola catches it and takes off. And Barella, you watch the replay, it looks like he was almost scared. He saw Spinazzola closing in on him. It kind of like flinched or something, and the ball got past him. Spinazzola caught it, took it down the field, and a beautiful pass to Dybala. What a goal. What a goal and celebration saying, hey, you didn't want me? F you, right? Should that have been saved? Yes. Onana probably would have saved it, but it was a great strike, great pass nonetheless. And I thought exactly like you said, this team was set up for a counterattack. Both teams are really. But Roma hit that counterattack beautifully through Spinazzola with the cross, and then Dybala. I mean, that's the world-class talent we see from him from time to time. And it showed off with a lovely, lovely volley finish.
Yep. So 1-1 at halftime. Inter, as I said, they controlled the match. Had a lot of good chances here in the first half. The one shot on goal was the one from Dybala there from Roma. So Inter were controlling the game. We get to the second half. A booking for Zeki Çelik on that foul was I thought just yellow was fair there. Yeah. I believe there was another Roma defender that was in the vicinity to keep that from being a red.
Yeah. It's a close call. Some people argue red, some people are yellow, but I think I'm with you. I'm okay with the yellow.
Was that Çelik?
I think it was no, it was oh my god.
It was Smalling, excuse me.
Smalling,
no, Mancini, I'm sorry.
Yes, Mancini. Yes.
Okay.
Smalling got a yellow shortly after there.
Now, why did I have Çelik in my notes? There I go, watching without my readers. So this is what happens when you get you're 40. You're okay. I'm 47. Everything's falling apart.
This is 40, Frank.
What's that?
This is 40. It goes down.
That's right. Hakan Çalhanoğlu hits the crossbar. What could have been a goal of the week if it did go in. Inter created a lot of excellent chances in this game. I mean, it just, so ultimately in the 75th minute, Pellegrini delivers a brilliant ball that only Smalling's going to get to with his head. Yeah. 2-1 to Roma. I can't really blame the marking on Inter. Sometimes you just, I remember these people, who do you blame? You don't blame anybody. You say that's a great ball and a great finish and a great set piece, and you can defend that as well as you possibly want. That ball was placed perfectly. It was headed perfectly. Nothing you're going to do defensively to stop that.
Yeah, and I think if anyone's going to get blame on this, Skriniar kind of caught napping on a great move by Chris Smalling to get free. He was marked up by Skriniar and got free. And when you're watching the header go in, Skriniar's catching up. And he's like, no. And a great header by Chris Smalling. But the pass, the goal is just beautiful right there. Another goal of the week candidate there. And nothing you can do about it. Pellegrini put it on a dime that only one person could get it, and he got it done. Yep. So kudos to Roma for that. And I agree with Apex saying, Roma had the mentality that Inter lacked in this game. Inter played well, but they did look weak. I think Anthony mentioned it as well. They looked weak. And when that goal happened, it's just hearts are dropping. Inzaghi's, but they played well. That's a crazy part. It's individual errors by Inter that cost them the game. As a whole, Roma played much better, and we're together all the time. Well, Inter can make these small little mistakes. Skriniar here, Barella there, little people, this and that. So it's frustrating, especially when Inter is struggling at the moment. to get out of a struggle, you all have to, do your part and play well. And instead of worrying what other people are doing, worry on your own game. And they're not doing that at the moment. And Roma, at least in this game, certainly did.
I'm trying to determine here and it's hard for me to really say that Roma got lucky here today in this game.
No.
Because, they were all possessed. They certainly did well when they had their counter-attacking moments. I mean, the two goals were 2 of 3 chances on target. Inter could only get 2 shots on target. And this has been the problem with Inter this season. They're misfiring big time. They create a lot of chances, especially in possession, but they're not threatening the goalkeeper. So on the one end, I want to say that Inter are unlucky, but I said on the other end, I think that it's, Anthony points out to them being weak-minded. I don't see the killer mentality in this Inter team that I saw under Conte, that I saw actually saw throughout last season. Under Inzaghi. I was going to see, they never really stopped. They fought all the way to the last day to try to beat out Milan for the title. But that killer instinct is missing. It's almost to the point where it's gone, and what's bringing that back? I mean, I think there's a lot to worry about here if you're an Inter supporter. Can't finish chances on the other end, can't even come close to finishing chances, can't, creating chances, certainly. I mean, because the one goal they scored probably should have been saved. Making enough mistakes to give the game away. Usually it's through the middle third of the field where they get dispossessed. I mean, how many times are we seeing them getting countered? How many times are we, it happened in the derby. Çalhanoğlu losing possession to Tonali. This time they lose possession and Spinazzola goes the other way. You can really give this team a hard time if you create pressure in the middle third of the pitch because they're pressing. And you know what Inzaghi's doing? He's getting Dumfries high, okay? And he's getting his, and I think that Federico Di Marco probably not playing as high, in those moments of possession through the middle third of the field. But there is a lot of numbers forward, and it's a stretched Inter that makes the one technical mistake in the middle third of the field, and you can counter them. And I mean, and I think that this just adds another way, and I'm kind of getting long-winded here, but no, me, right? But I think this just adds another way that you can beat Inter. I think you've seen teams press them into conceding possession in their own third. But you can also, if you don't want to do that, you could really start to confront them, around midfield, and put them under pressure, force them into mistakes, and because they're going to commit them numbers forward and go the other way. And for those reasons, I think that this was a really well-crafted game plan by Jose Mourinho to get these 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, going into this game, Inzaghi actually had the advantage, 3 wins over Mourinho while Mourinho had none. And so this is the first win, technically, even though he wasn't on the sideline, he was very instrumental in this, Mourinho was. And so it has fingerprints all over this. It was a masterclass performance tactic-wise because what have we been saying about Roma all season long? They create millions of chances and can't score goals. What did they do this game? They let the game come to them. They countered when they had the opportunities. Their opportunities were limited. They had like 10 shots in the game, maybe 3 shots on target. But they were clinical. And that's what we've been saying. That sometimes you just need something like this to open up the work and get your confidence going. Because not that they weren't playing well. They just were not putting their chances away like Inter. This time, the way Mourinho set them up, it's full-on counter. And they took their chances when they had them, which it wasn't many, and they made them pay. And that was the brilliance of Mourinho. They were strong throughout the game. Even when, obviously, Inter were going to press and try to get the equalizer, Roma looked fairly comfortable, I thought. I know Mancini can be a liability sometimes, as can Ibanez. But they look solid. And Chris Smalling was marshalling that defense. Matic and Cristante and the whole team really just doing really well to lock people up and force Inter to make these errors, individual errors that were costing them the game, because it wasn't like Inter played bad. They played well, but Roma were, as a collective, the better team and deserved the win.
Yeah. I mean, Roma now are finally getting results against the Seven Sisters.
Yeah. Took Mourinho to do that, right?
Yep. They drew Juve. They did lose to Atalanta, but I don't, nobody's beating them for some. Nobody's beating them. Nobody's
scoring on them.
And that's just the problem. You got it. Nobody's scoring on them. Which can you believe we're saying that about? Can you believe that we're saying that about Atalanta after how they played last year?
They have the best goals against by far in this league. It's crazy. Anyway.
Yeah, Roma. I mean, it's astonishing. We'll get into them here a little bit. Has Mourinho turned this? I mean, I'm still haunted by the 4-0 loss to Udinese.
Sure, but it's Udinese. They're good to everybody.
Yeah. You're just gonna take another lap. You're gonna take another victory.
I'll be right back. Let me go run around.
Wait till I'm gonna be the first one you hear from if they lose to Hellas Verona tomorrow.
That's true. No, but it is Mourinho. This is definitely Mourinho. And this is a team that can get a lead and hold on to it. You could never say that about Roma in the past. No chance. They've learned how to play defensively. Could they do better and get better personnel? Sure. But consider what they have. It's a disciplined team that knows what the roles should be, each of them, and play as a unit. And that's why they're doing so well. That's why Roma's successful defensively. And on the counter, they obviously have some talent that can score some goals and create opportunities. So this is a good Mourinho squad here, very well managed. And I think, yes, they still have the blips in the radar, the Bodo Glimt, the Udinese, that kind of stuff. They still pull out games like this, and it's like, give Mourinho some credit. They did win Europa League last year, or Conference League, excuse me. So maybe they won Europa League this year. But yeah, it's absolutely Mourinho's blueprints all over this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, second season magic from him again. We laid this out. There's only 2 places where he did not have a good second season, and those probably are far more beyond his control than any other environments. That's Manchester United and Tottenham, is 2 most recent, but I think he's creating that resurgence here again at Roma and still continue to be a top 4 contender. I think I had them 4th when I finished these predictions. I got to go back and look.
Dominic says, if teams reflect the character of the coach, is there any Serie A mister who's as wound up as Limone Inzaghi? Is it Juric? That's a good question.
Juric is pretty wound up as Limone Inzaghi.
I mean, Allegri's pretty wound up in his team.
No, I think Allegri's not necessarily wound up. Allegri's kind of got the demeanor of I really don't give a shit what anybody else thinks. I'm happy winning 1-0 and playing ugly.
Yeah.
But when you're talking about is Inzaghi, I think that it almost seems like he's pressing.
Yeah.
Because especially I think that he has it to prove it for himself that he's worthy of being a manager of a club like Inter after spending so much time at Lazio.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that he might be pressing a little bit, I think that is resonating down to the team.
Yeah.
That there's certainly, and I think that's what Dominic's trying to ask about.
Yeah, for sure.
Where you look at Pioli's got a personality that he takes on, and the players seem to buy into it.
100%.
Napoli are have a lot of belief in Spalletti. Spalletti's doing really well. Roma have this just pardon the connection, gladiator mentality to them that Mourinho seems to be instilling. Lazio even are starting to take on the identity of what they've got with Sarri. I mean, I mean, it's not unreasonable to think that Inzaghi's pressing and it's probably impacting the team. I mean, even Gasperini, it seems like, all right, what we did is looked at his Atalanta guys. What we did last year didn't work. We're gonna have to try to do it this way. I need to protect my defenders a little bit better. I need to limit chances the other team gets on us. And, I've got more than enough quality up front and to get the goals that I need, that I don't need to monopolize possession. I'll shift the way I'm doing things and the players buy into it.
I think last year Gasperini would have been a good shout because he was certainly wound up and the team was not performing, and that,
Yes.
it just was a struggle for them. But this year it's a completely different team. But yeah, Inzaghi is very wound up. Obviously his job is on the line, and the team is playing as the emotions that he's emitting as well. So yeah, it's a fair shout there. I mean, Juric is also a good shout too, but Inzaghi, I mean, he needs to figure something out quick or his days might be numbered, because Steven Zhang, doesn't seem too pleased these days.
And I don't think we can, and I don't think we need to be that harsh on Juric. I mean, I think that it's, I mean, Torino is not expected to be top 8, top 7, whatever. But, if I think of anybody else right now, when I'm looking at teams and maybe taking on the kind of attitude that their manager, and I mean, let's come back and make a comparison here. Allegri and how he handles the pressure. Allegri's being more stoic.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's been through this before.
Sure.
Many, many times. Inzaghi has come from a place like Lazio where it seemed like he could have that job for as long as he wanted it.
True, but he was still doing the same thing on the sidelines there. It just, the team didn't reflect his frustrations. I mean, it's similar
not
to
as much as this intergroup. No.
I
mean, the only time where you could probably make a comparison is when the year that Lazio finished 8th, but still won I think they still won the Coppa Italia that year. Is it 3 years ago? I believe.
Yeah, I think so. Yes.
And they beat Atalanta in the final.
Yeah.
So, it's a great question. It's a very interesting.
Absolutely.
It's a very interesting topic. But yeah, it's worth believing that Inzaghi's pressing, and the team's feeling it.
Yep.
So it's, we'll have to see, but a great win for Roma. And then you've got Inter, who are finding ways to lose games, and certainly aren't being ruthless enough in front of goal too. So, certainly some things that need fixing there. So, all right. How about you tell us what happened with the rest of the week?
All right. See if I get my page to work here. But starting it off, it was a big 3. Obviously, it started on Saturday. Napoli hosting Torino. Goal scoring started early in the 6th minute. Anguissa, wonderful goal there. He would double it in the 12th minute, make it 2-0 at that point. Kvaratskhelia get a goal himself after being a playmaker. 3-0 at halftime, or almost at halftime. Sanabria will get a consolation goal, make it 3-1. You think maybe game is on, but Napoli kind of saw this game out. 3-1 result there. Moving on, Empoli hosting Milan. This game was a roller coaster of a game. Started out as a snooze fest a little bit, but then it kind of really picked up late. Goal scoring wouldn't start until 79th minute. This is a very feisty game. Milan obviously have been playing difficult lately. Injuries have hurt them. They had 45 injuries in this game. It seems like this team were missing 10 million guys. One guy after the other was going down. 2 substitutions because of injury in the first half. Salamakers and Calabria both look very serious. I think Salamakers out 6 to 8 weeks. Calabria out for the rest of 2022 is what I heard. But 79th minute, Ante Rebic comes off the bench, scores the goal, makes it 1-0. Looks like Milan's going to win. Oh, but then we go into stoppage time, and the fun happens. Bajrami scores a goal of the week candidate free kick goal. 1-1. You think Empoli have stolen this, and Napoli are going to pull away from the top? Oh, but just right after kickoff, Lord Balotore scores a goal, equalizer. Wonderful pass by Leao.
Wow, that was the winner.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, excuse me. Oh, it was the winner. It was the winner.
You got baby brain. We'll let it slide.
I do. Yeah, 2-1 at that point. Game winner. Thought the game would be over there, but no. The third goal would happen. Rebic finds Leao in a breakaway with another goal of the week candidate there. 3-1. 3 goals happened in stoppage time in that game. Milan win 3-1. The scoreline's a little flattering. The game was a lot closer than the 3-1, but
Sure.
fantastic result nonetheless on the road for Milan. A true champions mentality in that one. Moving over to Lazio hosting Spezia. Spezia struggling. We just talked about Sarri and Lazio really starting to play well as of late. Lazio will get a penalty in the first minutes of the game. Immobile going to step up. He's going to score, right? No, save. Wonderful save by the goalkeeper, but it wouldn't take long for them to score. Zaccagni in the 12th minute would score a goal, make it 1-0. Romagnoli, goal of the week candidate. Nice volley in the 24th. Yes, Romagnoli plays for Lazio. 2-0 going into halftime there. Coming out of the break, Milinkovic-Savic would score from Zaccagni in his 61st minute. And then in stoppage time, Milinkovic-Savic would get his second from Husai. 4-0. Lazio beat Spezia. Relegation 6-pointer. Lecce hosting Cremonese. This was a feisty game in all regards. Penalty in the 19th minute. Ciofani would step up, scores a goal. 1-0 for Cremonese at that point. And just before the break, another penalty. And this time, Strefeza, scored a goal in the 42nd. 1-1 going into halftime. That would be all the goals in this game. This game would go back and forth, but a relegation 6-pointer is what it was. These teams were finding it hard to get any really great chances. Okereke looked pretty decent in this game, I thought. But 1-1 that game ends. Moving on. Looks like this is another relegation 6-pointer, right? Sampdoria hosting Monza in this one. This is where we would find out what was going on with Giampaolo. Well, we find out Giampaolo is not going to get any panettone for Christmas.
Nope.
They lose 3-0 to Monza at home. Goals by Pessina in the 11th minute. Followed that by Caprari in the 67th minute. A wonderful goal there. Celebrating against his former team. And then in the 95th minute, Sensi would get the goal. 3-0 Monza with a big victory. Cost Giampaolo his job after that game. The games all on Sunday were all shutouts. Lots of good goals, though. Next game, we talked about Maria Caputi being the first female referee against Sassuolo and Salernitana. Sassuolo thanked her for that by scoring goals left and right. The Loriente, this guy is Lorient, a fantastic little guy there. Scored a goal in the 12th minute, made it 1-0. Pinamonte would get a penalty kick goal in the 39th, 2-0. And then Thorstvedt from Alvarez Martinez, in the 53rd, 3-0. It's not done yet. Hawaii scored in the 76th, 4-0. And then Antiste, a goal that Alvarez really should have scored, but he got the rebound. Antiste put it away. 5-0. Sassuolo doing Sassuolo things again. They're being fun now. Atalanta, the new bus, parking the bus mentality. Another shutout, another win, 1-0. This time a goal wouldn't score until Adama Lukman scored in the 59th minute, assisted by Muriel. Nice play down low on the goal line there. But that's all they would need. Atalanta doing Atalanta things defensively here. And then to round out the games that were played, Juventus against Bologna. Many wanted to see how Juve would react after their poor form going into the international break. Didn't take long for the Serbian connection to hook up. Kostic would score, assisted by Vlahovic in the 24th minute. Vlahovic off a wonderful pass by McKennie, goal of the week candidate by Vlahovic in the 59th. And then to seal things off, Quadrado to Milik. Milik with a thumping shot, 3-0. Roma win against Bologna, lowly Bologna. If you feel for
Juve win against Bologna.
Juve. But Juve get back on the right ship, and then obviously there's one game left with Hellas and Udinese tomorrow. But talking points from these games, Frank?
Let's touch on Napoli first. We'll get to Atalanta. We should probably call this podcast. We'll get to Atalanta. Napoli, I mean, the first few minutes you're just watching, and this is to touch on Anthony's comment about Anguissa.
Yeah.
Just watching the first few minutes, and Anguissa just looked like he wanted to get in the box and score. So, see him getting a brace, in the end was just kind of the end result of that. This could have been a very, with Ajax on the horizon for Napoli in the Champions League, this could have been a trip-up game for them. And this is a Torino team that has sneaky quality to it. When you take a look at them, you got Vlasic and Miranchuk, who started behind Sanabria, so enough to trouble Napoli's back four. They've got players like Lazaro, Singo, Linetti, Lukic is capable of a goal. They play a back three. Ricardo Rodriguez at this stage of his career is a center back in a 3-man defense.
Gigi, he's good,
but can serve a ball. So, yep, Coffee Gigi. So, I mean, this is a team that certainly can give you some trouble on the right day. Under Ivan Juric and Juric's experience in this league. It's funny to me though. Juric just for whatever reason just can't get anything against Napoli. Can't beat Napoli.
No.
Usually and just generally speaking, folds like a tent. Milan, Leao was fantastic again.
Mm-hmm.
It just leaves you to rue what could have been if he was available against Napoli. But at the same time, Napoli didn't have all Siemens, and people were making those comments, which I understand. But we should point out Ciprian Tatarusanu, the backup to Mike Maignan, because he came up with 2 big saves in this game.
Yeah.
That helped keep things preserved for Milan. Obviously, all of the fun happened in stoppage time, as you mentioned. Bajrami with a great free kick. Milan right now finding ways to win. And I thought that, if I'm not mistaken, Calabria left the game injured.
Yes.
Chiara left the game.
Exactly.
Left the game with a knock. So things are piling up from a health standpoint for Milan.
Yeah.
Not the most promising thing heading into heading over to Stamford Bridge. So you had, so now you already have Origi, Teo, Florenzi, and Maignan. Is Teo going to be back for Champions League? Do we know?
I do not know.
Okay. That would be interesting to know. So Milan having to deal with some adversity now, with the injuries. Nobody surprised nobody picked up Bajrami over the summer. Me too.
Yeah.
I love his game.
We talked about him all last year. He's
a
fun player to watch.
Yep. So kind of feels like a guy. Let's talk about Bajrami since we're talking about this game briefly. Where would he fit? I think that you put him in the 10 role at Sassuolo, I think he'd be excellent.
Yeah.
I think you can't really send him. You can't really put him in Napoli because Zielinski's already playing that role.
Yeah.
Playing it really well. I might add.
Inter maybe.
I don't know if I like the fit. Lazio formation fit doesn't work.
Yeah.
Roma probably doesn't work. So then you're looking
Fiorentina.
at Fiorentina. I think
guys.
He would be wonderful there.
Yeah.
Fiorentina, Sassuolo, those teams. I
don't think he'd work at Atalanta. Cup Miners is too good and too versatile. There's so many bodies there that he wouldn't get the quality start time.
If I'm not mistaken, I think Fiorentina was trying to put in a bid for him too over the summer. It might have been him.
Udinese.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Milan got De Ketelaere in that role. So,
yeah, I wouldn't think it would be good Milan either.
Yep, but
Torino.
Probably, yeah. If you're rotating, I mean, they've got plenty of guys in those spots with Vlasic and Miranchuk, and
they are very good and young
guys like that. So it almost like you get kind of. I think that Sassuolo and Fiorentina would probably be the best places for Bajrami, from a fit standpoint.
Yeah.
So, Sampdoria, depending on who Sampdoria appoint, for a manager, you could put both of those guys and put him in a playmaking role with Juricic behind a striker like Caputo, or rotate Quagliarella. I think it would have some potential, but I think Sampdoria's problems are defensive and also just overall confidence.
Yeah.
Right now with them. So Empoli, Milan, that's what I had. Juve, Bologna, I want to jump ahead to that. I kind of like the approach that they took in this game. You know, they knew that they had a maybe inferior opponent in Bologna, especially defensively. Let them have the ball a little bit more, let them get exposed, and be able to go ahead and hit them the other way. Kostic is, as a winger, is fitting a lot better than I thought he would. Where he was really good in a wing back, more of a wing back role at Eintracht Frankfurt. So, you know, that's going well. Vlahovic, that's just a splendid team goal there. And then Milik, you know, with some of the pressing. I think that Milik is growing into it. Vlahovic is certainly going to score goals for you. Kostic is starting to get comfortable. You've got guys like Cuadrado. You know, if Allegri can just slowly start to free these guys up and let them play, this Juventus team does have a chance to be dangerous. But, you know, I don't want to jump ahead of myself because it was a Bologna team that really is struggling right now, even with a new manager. Yeah. So,
Chiesa's getting closer to come back at too.
What's that?
Chiesa's getting close to coming back too.
Right.
Maybe prematurely, but yes.
Do you put him on the right and you keep Kostic on the left?
I would start off.
Yep.
I would.
That's probably the best way. Probably the best way to do it. Now let's get to Atalanta. I mean, we've said it for multiple weeks now. Everybody else is now finally starting to come around to, oh, look, it's Atalanta. Look what they're doing. I mean, and we continue to say it, complete 180.
Yeah.
You know,
unreal.
They've realized, and Gasperini has realized, that his system got figured out, that if you get behind those two midfielders in their two-man center midfield and can expose that back three, you're going to generate a lot of trouble. I think Juan Musso's playing better. I think that's having a lot to do with it.
His defense is playing better too.
But then the defense is also playing better. And then, to Dominic's point, wow, Ledea have depth, especially up front. I mean, he can play the same, you know, he can mix it up with the back three. Scalvini was really good. Okoli was really good in this game. Yeah, let's grab another guy. I've never heard of this Okoli guy. They bring him in and, you know,
that's what they do.
Wins 5 aerial duels, wins ground duels. He's winning tackles. So it's really, really interesting.
I argue with Atalanta that they've always had depth. They've always been able to pull guys from up. It's just the system has always never benefited them. They could score goals like nobody else, right? But they couldn't stop anybody. And now they could figure out how to play defense. And look out, they're this new park the bus thing. I think Martin de Roon said it. It's like, welcome to Park the Bus 2022, right? It's a new style of doing it. That's how they're going to be successful, and they're embracing it.
Yeah, and Ali, that's a known advantage with Atalanta not having to play in midweek. But I think we would have assumed way back at the beginning of the season that they're just going to come out and play the same way. They're going to play loose. They're going to attack you. They're going to create a lot of chances. Yeah. They're going to beat up on the weak and the sad. They're going to get into some games against the Seven Sisters. Some games are going to walk away thinking, how do we not win? And have some odd things beat them, but they're playing a disciplined, regimented approach. They're letting the other team have the ball a lot, and they're finding ways to get the 3 points. I mean, and with what they can do up front, they've got a variety of combinations that they can go with in their attack, and Gasperini can pretty much base it on, well, what's the other team good at defensively? Yeah. I'll just play the guys that they struggle with.
Yeah.
You know, and you're seeing it, and you're seeing it come into focus, and we're seeing a different Atalanta that has only conceded 3 goals so far at the beginning of the season.
Through 8 games. Crazy.
Yeah. I mean, they've only scored 12. We're not used to this. This is the new way of Atalanta doing Atalanta things.
Yeah.
So, what do you think? I mean, Atalanta right now, I mean, this is sustainable.
Yes.
Because they don't have the midweek, you know. I think they're a top 4 team. They can continue like. I think there's enough sample against good opposition.
Yeah,
that suggests it.
Yeah, and they've done. It's how they compete against the rest of the Seven Sisters is what's going to determine this for top 4, because Roma is going to be in the mix. Obviously, Napoli, Milan, Inter are going to be in the mix. Juve potentially could be in the mix. Lazio could be in the mix, right? So a lot of teams vying for these top 4 spots. Obviously Milan. And so who's going to be the odd teams out? There's going to be several teams out. And so when you look at the upcoming schedule, right? They go at Udinese, big game there, right? Then Sassuolo, fun bad. Who's gonna win out, right? Is gonna be the will of Atalanta and their defensive play, or is gonna be the shootout mentality of Sassuolo? They got Lazio coming up as well as Empoli, and then Napoli down the stretch here. So yeah, I think this is absolutely sustainable. Much more so than in the past. Gasperini's not one who's adapted well in the past, but he figured it out in Champions League a couple years ago. I keep harping back into that because it's like he was experimenting and it worked, and now he finally brought it in because he knows his job is on the line, and the team is bought in, and they are a team that's built to attack. But now they found this regimented discipline that you talked about, and it's working wonderfully for them. Is it entertaining to watch? No, not necessarily. They still get a boatload of possession and still get a lot of shots. But even in this game, they didn't get that much of a possession, right? It was pretty close to 50-50. It was like, I think it was 55-45 or 60-40, something like that. It wasn't that big. I think they were on the downside of that too. So Gasperini has found a way to get them to buy in and win. And maybe that's the key. He says, do you guys want to win or do you want to play, fun football? And if they want to win, because these guys have been together for a while, a lot of these guys that have, do they want to win? This is the way to do it. This is sustainable, like you said. So
Gasperini having a week to prepare for opponents gives him the advantage physically and tactically. Okay, sure. Yeah. He has had to adapt since he basically revamped these teams past 2 seasons. Papu, Gozin, Zilic, Freuler are out. The new players coming in have different characteristics. But isn't that the sign of a great manager?
Yeah.
Didn't we just talk? And we just talked about this.
But he's finally adapted. I think if this was the past, Gasperini would be still doing the attack mentality with a week off, a week to prepare. And now he's finally adapted this year to finally go, you know what? I don't care how long we have. We're going to be rigid, be defensive, and not give up any goals. And that's how we're going to win. And so, it's a sign of a great manager that you're able to adapt. You talked about the same thing with Mancini. The stubborn managers, Ventura, Giampaolo, those are the guys who are always looking for jobs because they cannot adapt to the change. No matter what kind of style you play, you're going to be sought out and fought and defeated, and you have to adapt and change your game. And if you don't, those who do are going to survive and do well. Gasperini finally learned it. Let's see how it does for the rest of the season, but it's about time.
Yep, definitely agree. Sassuolo, Loriente. I mean, Sassuolo at it again, just finding these guys, sticking them in there, playing in their system, and getting results. So
that other guy, so the front three was a good front three, I thought. It was obviously Loriente, it was Pinamonte, and on the right they had Sede, and those 3 guys were doing very well together, obviously with Fratesi, Lopez, and Torfzet in the middle. Again, Sassuolo is very similar to Atalanta, where they just plug and play anybody, and it seems that it works, right? They pull guys off the street and they become stars. It's just nice to see what they do with Sassuolo, and these guys like Loriente is really blossoming here. Last 3 weeks or so, he's been really getting some goals in here for Sassuolo. So yeah, Dionisi has got some things going here, and I like what I'm seeing. Can they stop the ball more? We'll see. But offensively, they're fun to watch.
Just a uncharacteristically bad showing from Salernitana in that game when we were starting to think them up really. I still think highly of them. I had them 12th in my final standings, final predictions.
We recorded this.
Yeah, I still believe in them. I believe in the talent. So, and I also said that Monza's getting out. I said just to keep the faith in there, and that's suddenly starting to look pretty good, isn't it?
Sampdoria is not helping the cause. They're making everybody look good now. So, I mean, Sampdoria, Bologna, you have to worry about. There's a few teams in there that got thrown in there that you're like, ooh, they might help these promoted teams maybe possibly survive. So
Sampdoria, apart from Marco Giampaolo, and did they announce a new manager yet, or is it just Giampaolo?
I haven't heard.
I'm going to look that up.
Maybe Thiago Motta again. I don't know.
Well, Thiago Motta's at Bologna now.
Yeah. I was see if you can figure that out. I have
commentary on Giampaolo on another failed stint.
Yeah, he's this one of these guys, like we mentioned, like Ventura, who just cannot adapt. He had obviously a great stint at Fiorentina, or excuse me, Sampdoria the first time around, and what got him the notoriety. But going to Milan, got found out there, and then every other job he's taken, he's got found out. And then so unless like Gasperini, he finds a way to adapt and change and figure out a way, he might be not looking at another Serie A. Oh, it should be hard for him to find a Serie A job. Somehow these guys who always fail seem to get a job. They're like the backup call. So he probably will get another job again, but his days of getting a top end job is probably long gone now, just because unless he can completely change his style and figure something out, it's not going to happen for him, unfortunately. Ventura is gone by the wayside now. Obviously, he had some age to him. But yeah, Giampaolo had some nice ideas. That Sampdoria team from a couple seasons ago, many seasons ago, was fun to watch. They were. Also, the guys he had were much younger and had the right players in the right positions. It's just, the team doesn't respond to him, and obviously this game is the culmination of it, right? It just no one seemed to care or want to play for him. I think Caputo got taken off because he was very frustrated. I mean, it was his time to go, right? As was what's his name from Bologna who just left, Mihailovic. Eventually, people just stop caring, and then they don't want to play for you, and then you can't be on a team that has a team that won't fight for the manager. So what's the point to get rid of him? So he needs to figure some things out if he wants to have another job. EDF, Eusebio De Francesco is another guy like that, right? Who doesn't change, and he's been found out and can't find a good job again. So we'll see what happens to Giampaolo, but I don't think we'll hear his name much in terms of the bigger teams in the league.
Does Ferrero make a call to Mihailovic?
He shouldn't. Ranieri's available. I don't know who they would take at this point. I mean, it's possible, right? Mihailovic does do well in the first couple seasons with his team, but then that eventually grows stale as well. So Ferrero's sole goal is to survive the season. Yeah, Mihailovic probably worked then, right? But is it long term? Absolutely not.
Going to be interesting. Montella is currently managing in Turkey.
Turkey, yeah. He had a fight with Balotelli not too long ago.
And De Zerbi just got snapped up by Brighton.
Yeah, 3-3 against Liverpool this weekend.
3-3, yeah. Great start.
Yeah.
But Italians can't manage. Wasn't there some ridiculous... Yeah, and that was like a ridiculous commentary recently, and I can't remember who said it. Was it Souness?
That same idiot who says, I don't know how he has a job. He always, what's the name?
Graham Souness.
Yeah, Graham Souness.
Former Liverpool player, by the way.
Yeah.
Kind of a Liverpool legend. Talked a whole bunch of shit about De Zerbi getting the Brighton job, and then De Zerbi walks into Anfield and comes out of there 3-3.
Graham Souness always talks out of his ass, and it's never right.
What's that?
Graham Souness always talks out of his ass and is never right. Even English fans are like, "What the hell are you going on about, man? Shut the hell up! You're making us look bad."
Yeah.
Just look at the record of Italian managers who have won and done well in England. And just like, shut the hell up, dude.
Lazio looked terrific.
Second year.
Yep. Another second year thing here, but how much of this do we look at it and say it is Spezia?
Sure. Absolutely. You can absolutely say that because Spezia will be towards the bottom end of the table, right? But Lazio have done fairly well this season. I mean, look at some of the wins. Obviously, they beat up on the lower teams like Cremonese, beating Hellas. They did have a nice win against Feyenoord in Europa League. Played Napoli tough. They lost 2-1 to Napoli in a tough game there. Inter, they beat them 3-1, right? They got to hang their head on that. What else? Those are some of the more impressive victories this year. So, yes, part of it is Spezia, but part of it is it's another year under Sarri, and Sarri's figured a way to get Zaccagni in the attack now alongside Immobile and Felipe Anderson. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is having another great year. They're finding ways to use Luis Alberto off the bench successfully. They moved on from some dead weight from last year too. And the defenders obviously got a better goalkeeper, Provedel. They got a backup who's actually pretty capable as well, who should be the starter but injured, and now Provedel took over. This is a good team. They still have some missing pieces, but I think they're good. I mean, look at what they did to Inter, and granted, Inter are a bit of a stumbling block at the moment. And yes, I know Luis Alberto started in this game, but for the most part, he hasn't been doing that. But Lazio is a better team. They're not quite top 4. They're getting close, but they're good. They score goals, and they can keep the opponent from scoring goals themselves. Right? Inter saw that themselves in person. So yeah, this is a team to watch out for. Sarri in the second year has always done well. We talked about this even last year, right? That Sarri and Mourinho would do well this year, and we're seeing that now. And we'll see how the Seven Sisters, the head-to-head, play out for Lazio, especially. But I think they're legit. They're a legit team. They're going to be good against the bottom feeders, and they're going to make it difficult for the teams that the Seven Sisters. So, yeah, I'm impressed with them so far. How about you?
I am, but let's I mean, the Inter win might not be that big a deal right now.
Sure.
They did lose to Napoli. They drew at Sampdoria. They destroyed Cremonese and Spezia. And I guess if you're a good team, you better be destroying those teams. But over their next 7 Serie A matches before the World Cup break, next week they're at Fiorentina.
Difficult.
Then they've got Udinese on the 16th. They're at Atalanta. The derby on November 6th. And then on November 13th, they're at Juve. So
we'll find out what kind of Lazio we have.
We're gonna learn what we're gonna know, I think, over the next 5 to 6 weeks before the World Cup.
Yeah,
what we really have with Lazio. I like it, like what I'm seeing, but let's see when and mind you, they got to do this with having to play in the Europa League game sandwich in there too, which they're doing fine with.
Yeah, except
for when they play Midtjylland, at least. Maybe as long as they don't play Midtjylland, I think they're going to be fine. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there's plenty to dissect right now. With how things are going, and we've got Udinese traveling to Hellas Verona. Quick look at that one tomorrow, Richard. I'm going to drink the Kool-Aid here with you, and Udinese will win this, but they'll win 2-1. I mean, I think that Verona will
make it interesting,
give them some difficulty, being that it is at the Bentegodi. But I think that Udinese still come away winning this. So
yeah, I agree.
Odds makers have Udinese at plus 130, not minus 130, plus 130. Those of you that are into wagering, get on that.
Explain that in layman's terms.
So you bet $100 on Udinese. You win if you're betting $100 on Udinese to win 130.
Okay.
So basically, you put in 100, you're going to get 230. The 100 you put in plus another 130.
Okay.
So I like that. I said 2-1 to Udinese, so I like the over 2.5 at minus 125. But if you think there's going to be a lot of goals in this, over 3.5 sits at plus 200. So
if there are, it's Udinese scoring them.
And yeah, if there are, it's Udinese scoring them. If you think Udinese can win this 3-1, then over 3.5 sits at plus 200.
Let's say, for argument's sake, that Udinese win. They'll be on 19 points. So your top 10 will look like this: Napoli 1 at 20, Udinese 2 at 19, then Atalanta, Milan, Roma, Lazio, Inter, Juve.
Atalanta have 20.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. 20. They do have 20. That's right. But yeah, it's gonna be a not top 10 that we're used to, and Juve are 10 points behind Napoli. I know everyone in England and Liverpool, Graham Souness, they're worried that they're 10 points behind Man City. Juve are 10 points behind Napoli too, but I think Udinese are sitting pretty. Seven now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but so Udinese is sitting pretty where they are right now. I don't know if they're top 4 material, but they're certainly a European place material. We've talked about this. Good squad there. But yeah, interesting top 10.
Yep. See, Udinese, as promising as this looks, and yeah, they've had a lot of impressive wins in this run. I think they're the team that if they're still hanging around in this at around, let's say, match week 30, then it's serious and it's probably going to happen, because we've seen charges like this by these, kind of the mid-table type clubs, the traditional mid-table type clubs, and we see them peter out at some point. So you can't totally rule out the fact that is an outcome. So, for as good a squad as they have, it takes a Deulofeu injury in particular really changes the dynamic of this team.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have the depth. They're going to need to be healthy over the course of the entire season to sustain, in order to have a chance to sustain this, in my opinion. I'm not trying to downplay the start that they're off to. I'm not trying to downplay your prediction. I'm just trying to be realistic. They get some key players getting hurt. Some of these midfielders that they use, Udoji, gets hurt. Bakal gets hurt in the back. Some of these guys that they tend to lean on, they don't have the resources that an Atalanta have. Say if they run into injury problems, or a Milan, we're going to see with some of the injuries that they're having what they're made of right now. So it's a little bit of a different proposition for someone like an Udinese to have to overcome that kind of adversity. So that's, when that stuff starts to turn up, are they still going to be the same?
Something to look out for tomorrow. Udoji is on 4 yellows of the season. He gets another yellow. He could miss the Atalanta matchup, which would be a big loss for Udinese where they go to the next week. So just keep an eye out for that.
That is huge. So, okay. So goals of the week.
Cheers, Daniel from Australia. Yes, goals of the week. Let me take Daniel Peters here and pull up my goals of the week. I did have my honorable mentions. All of Juventus's goals. Honorable mentions. They're all good goals. All of Sassuolo's goals. They were all fantastic. Caprari's volley and Bajrami's free kick. All honorable mentions. Top 5 is as so. Number 5, Romagnoli, his volley. Anytime a defender can do something like a striker, you're going to get kudos from me. Number 4, Anguissa's goal from Mario Rui. Mario Rui continuing his fantastic form. Wonderful cross into Anguissa, who puts it away. Number 3, both of Milan's winning goals in stoppage time. Ballatore and Leao, fantastic goals by both of them. Number 2, the wonderful assist and the wonderful volley from Dybala from Spinazzola. That's number 2 for me. Wonderfully done. And then the winner is the winner of that game, Chris Smalling. Wonderful cross in by Pellegrini and put it away in a big game like that. That gets my goal of the week for me. Chris Smalling, header against Inter.
Wow, we are different here.
We are.
Let's see. I did have the Vlahovic team goal coming in at number 5. The Dybala volley at number 4. Smalling's header at number 3. The Leao chip at number 2. Wonderful free kick by Nadim Bajrami. To really set that stoppage. Really, the start of setting that stoppage time in a tailspin. Yeah. So Bajrami gets my vote for goal of the week. The free kick for Empoli, and a losing effort, of course.
Sure.
But nonetheless, wonderful strike. So, a couple of honorable mentions there. The Romagnoli volley is an honorable mention there for me, as is the 2 key saves from Tatrasanu.
Want
to make mention of that. Standing in for the guy who's been the best goalkeeper in the league for the last year and a half, and being able to do his job and play his part. So, real quick, Richard, let's break down Europe. Big games.
They are big.
Oh, games. You can hear me. I was scratching my arm. Sorry. I didn't realize that was that loud. So, okay. So Champions League.
Yeah.
Let's start with Tuesday's games. Group B, Napoli, top of the group, travel to Ajax. Ajax shredded Rangers in their opening match. Played admirably against Liverpool in defeat. Now Napoli traveling to the Amsterdam Arena. And if they get a draw here It sets up beautifully because they can go back to the Maradona on match day 4, beat them. That's 10 points. That should be enough to get through.
Yes.
I want to say that Napoli are going to win this game, but I just feel that this Ajax team has a lot of quality, even though they've had a lot of departures. It's astonishing.
Yeah.
They still have the resources. I think this game's a draw. I'm going to say 2-2. I think this is going to be an entertaining game. I think that if you're a neutral, this is a game you're going to want to watch. I think you're going to see good attacking football from both sides. And I will say a 2-2 draw between Ajax and Napoli. What do you say?
Yeah. Ajax, they can score goals. They're not the same team that made that deep run in the semifinals several years ago. But, they're good, and they're also good at home. They play entertaining football. What I think Napoli can certainly go there and win. And I think a draw is what they should look for at minimum. But be prepared that Ajax may try to open it up and want a shootout. Because Ajax can play like that, and so can Napoli. I think Napoli has obviously the defense to handle it, but what they don't want to do is get into a wide open game where it's a 3-4 game, something like that, where Napoli are playing out of their norm. I think Napoli need to focus on what they do well, and they can get out of there with either score, draw, or even like a 2-1 victory. But if you play to what Ajax wants to do, you could open yourself up to some goals that you normally won't give up. And so they have to be very wary of that. Yeah, they lost Anthony and several other key players throughout the years, but they can just keep finding new youngsters to bring in and take the place, right? They beat up on Rangers. You said 4 goals against Rangers. That's pretty good. Rangers is not a bad team, and so you put 4 goals past them. Don't take that lightly. So I think they can, I'm going to say, score draw with potential of winning 2-1, but there's also a possibility they could be a 4-3 shootout.
I'll pick. Come on.
1-1.
1-1? Okay.
That's gonna be all the scores possible.
Okay, there you go. You're just trying to cover all your bases.
That's right.
You're hedging. I get it. Inter at Barcelona. I think this is at the San Siro, but I think this is a problem for Inter. This is a Barcelona team that their only loss this season is at Bayern. You can forgive them for that.
And they got a new striker too.
Yeah, some guy named Lewandowski.
Yeah, I never heard of him.
Barcelona have only conceded 1 goal in La Liga this season. I think that's, you talk about some of the attacking players that they can boast, like Dembele and Lewandowski, and they've got Gavi in midfield, and they've got quality. They've got quality all over the pitch. They can also probably set up, and with an Inter team that's really struggling for goals. Let's face it. We just talked about this, and against a Barcelona team that's defending well, diffusing things well. I think that Barcelona are going to win this game. I don't like where Inter is right now. And I don't think that Anthony thinks Barcelona is going to trounce them 3-0. I won't go that far. I mean, it's going to be 2-0 Barcelona. I don't think Inter's going to score.
Yeah. I'm not too far off from that 3-0 Barcelona. Just, the way Lewandowski and company are really gelling at the moment. Lewandowski, I think, has a La Liga record for most goals in 7 games, which is ridiculous considering that league. And Inter is in a terrible, terrible spot at the moment. I'm going to go 3-1 Barcelona on the road. I think it's going to really be eye-opening, and this could be close to the end for Inzaghi if they get a scoreline like that. I really don't. These are times where Inter sometimes pull a rabbit out of their hat and they have this fantastic game and win. It'd be nice to see that, but I just don't at this moment. For the reasons you brought up, Barcelona's been stellar defensively. They can score goals. They got so much talent all up and down the pitch. I feel for Inter at this moment, and I think it's going to be 3-1.
3-1. Okay. So you're at least giving them a chance to score a goal. I don't think
they're at home. They're going to score, I think.
Okay. We'd all love to see Kessie score the winner, right? That would be great. That'd be great. Okay. So moving on to Wednesday's games, Milan travel to a Chelsea team that I think are still trying to find themselves with the new manager, Graham Potter. But Milan have a lot of injury problems. that they're navigating through. Kalulu and Tomori will play together in the center of defense tomorrow. The thing that I think that Milan will have to their advantage, you can at least think conceivably, is that when you look at Chelsea strikers, they're not going to beat you aerially. So this doesn't, a Kalulu Tomori partnership is going to be fine. It's the health of the rest of the team that concerns you. And can they put together a team performance over 90 minutes on the road? It's I don't care where Chelsea's at right now. It's still at Chelsea. It's still going to be a tough place to play, a tough out. Tomori returning to Stamford Bridge. So is Giroud. But I can't pick Chelsea to win either because I don't think there's been anything really overwhelming with them ever since Potter took over. This game's got 1-1 written all over it for me. I don't think that Milan are going to go there and win. I think they're going to have, can we get out of here with a point and have our sights set on Juve? I think is kind of the way they could be approaching this and they could be looking at this. Or, maybe they can go there and eke out a win. But I'd love Milan to go and win the game and get to 7 points and be in a really, really good position for the rest of the group. But I think this is 1-1.
Yeah, this is a hard one to call, mostly because I don't know who Milan have available. I don't know if Magnon's going to be available. I don't know if Teo's going to be available. And for those uncertainties, I'm going to say 2-1 Chelsea, just because there's so much injuries going on at the moment, right? Salamakers is out, Calabria is out, Kiar possibly out. So we can see what they're going to do in defense. You might have Dest and Kalulu and Tomori back there. Balotelli probably in left back, maybe, depending if Teo's available. So, yeah, it's going to be a big game for Tomori and Giroud. I think a score 1-1 would be, I think that'd be a fantastic result for Milan, I think, considering all the injuries that they have. But I think it's just a little too much at this moment, just for me, because I don't know the key players or if they're going to be there. So I'm going to say 2-1 for Chelsea.
I will say it'll be Leao that gets the goal in this game because Chelsea will play probably a three-man defense, and it'll be Fofana. And I think Leao is way better than Fofana. I think he blows away Fofana. Or it could be Azpilicueta, who has some savvy and has some experience to him, but Leao will just outpace him. And I would love it if Graham Potter just had this idea in his head where Reece James should play back there. So, but the goal comes from Leao, or at least created by Leao. Might come from Salamakers. That man's scoring in the Champions.
No, he's injured. Goals. Salamakers is out for 6 to 8 weeks.
Oh, well, there's our big scoring threat.
Let me reach out to Apex. Apex is in the chat. He's a Chelsea fan. Tell us what you think. What are you afraid of Milan? Obviously, Leao is going to be the big one, right? And I agree with you, Frank. I think Leao is going to be he's going to be thirsty, obviously, for not playing the last game. So he's going to be hungry, and him and Giroud, I think they have some opportunity there. But I'm curious from Apex what he thinks. What's his biggest worry with Milan? I agree with you. Potter hasn't done anything to me yet that says, "Oh shit, this is Chelsea from old." No, it's not. It's still a work in progress. Yeah. And I think Milan and Pioli are going to set them up stoutly, where it's going to make it difficult for them. Again, I don't know who the key players are, but I think that's a great shout about Leao. He's a game changer. He's a world-class game changer, no doubt about it.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see what he has to say. Juventus hosting Maccabi Haifa at the J. They're going to win 2-0.
Maccabi or Juventus?
Juventus.
Okay.
I still say this, and I know Maccabi gave a great account of themselves against PSG in Matchday too, but I think they're lucky to be in this group. I think they were lucky to get past Crvena Zvezda in the playoff. They're making up the numbers, and Juve will get their first 3 points.
Yeah. I mean, you look at the goal differential, -4 for Maccabi right now. It's not an easy group for them at all.
They've been competitive.
They have been. If they were at home, I would say a score draw or a win is possible. But Juventus feeling the mojo, I guess, from this past week. I don't know. I don't want to sip the Kool-Aid just yet, but I think Juve should be able to get away with like a 1 or 2-0 victory.
Yeah, so they'll get their first 3 points and shouldn't be an issue for them there. Match day 3 in the Europa League. Let's jump into this real quick. Actually, what happened here? Okay, there we go. Group stage match day 3. Lazio traveled to Sturm Graz. And then we have Roma, who is at home against Betis. That's a tasty one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's start with Roma.
Okay.
Betis beat Helsinki. They beat Ludogorets. Roma lost at Ludogorets. I think Betis had the fortune of getting Ludogorets at home. That's a tough place to go play. And then they won away to Helsinki. I think that Mourinho doesn't change what he does in this game here. And I think that will be to Roma's benefit. I think that they can beat Betis on the counter. I think Betis are going to score a goal here. I'm going to go with Roma winning 2-1.
Where's the game being played at?
It is at the Olimpico.
Okay. Yeah, this is. I think Mourinho does well in these kind of games. It always does. Obviously, they won Conference League last year, but this is a pretty good Betis team. I think they're 4th in La Liga right now. They nearly beat Real Madrid a couple weeks ago. They're a good squad. I can see a score draw for Betis in this one at the Olimpico. If they were a home Betis, that is, I would say a victory for Betis. But I think Betis are a good team, and I think Roma have a high, obviously playing against Inter, and there might be a natural drop off because Betis isn't the flashy name that Inter is. But don't be surprised at how good Betis are, and I think a 1-1 game I think is going to suit both teams actually.
Sure. And then Lazio traveling to Sturm. This is who are you and what are you actually with both of these teams? I mean, we just talked up Lazio and how well they've been playing domestically. They beat Feyenoord 4-2, but then they get battered at Midtjylland. Yeah. Sturm beat Midtjylland at home 1-0, but then they get battered at Feyenoord 6-0. So your guess is as good as mine what happens with this game. How serious are Lazio taking this?
I don't know.
If I just look at this on talent, Lazio win this game, but I'm going to say it's going to be 3-2. It's going to be I think there's going to be a lot of goals. I don't think Lazio will have all of their attention on this game, but they're going to have enough quality to win and not allow what happened to them last time when they traveled for a match here in this competition.
Yeah, no, that's trying to see what the game is at on the road for Lazio, right?
Yep, it's at Sturm Graz.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, Sarri wants to win anything he can win, right? And so he'll be wanting to win, but will the players get up for this? And it's Sturm Graz. It's not a flashy name a team that you want to get up for. It's going to be difficult, I think, and it's going to be on the road. I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know what to expect in this because look at the results of all the games in this group, and you're like, flip a coin. I'm gonna say I'm a hope Lazio heads are in it and that they find a way to win 2-1. Maybe I figured there'd be goals in this game, but I'm hoping Lazio can figure out a way to get this done, but I don't know.
Roma traveling to Hearts in the Conference League, or not Roma? Fiorentina traveling to Hearts in the Conference League. I give up. I mean, they drew RFS after
I know should have been
out shooting them like 37-5 or something like that. And then they get battered in Turkey at Başakşehir. I'll give them a 2-2 draw. It's about the best I could think of. I don't know enough about this Hearts team. I know that they've got a win against RFS, and that's about it.
Again, I agree with you with that. I don't know too much about Hearts, but Fiorentina can create chances. We've seen that not only in Serie A, but also in the Conference League. 2-1 for them too.
Sure.
2-1. Apex finally got back to us. He says he's afraid of Leao because obviously he's a game changer. One of those players that has the qualities and always dangerous. He says he definitely thinks Sterling can exploit Dest if that's who is the right back for Milan. Sterling with the pace, obviously, and the talent there, something we should be worried about as Milanisti. And wraps it up by saying they played a 4-man defense in their last game, and they could see them deploying it to have the numbers in the midfield. So yeah, that's possible. I think the midfield is going to be the key. If Chelsea can overpower Milan in that midfield, that would help them take the game, but it's going to be a close one.
Yep. Is that okay? Just to have more numbers in the midfield, I can see that too. So, we shall see. It'll be interesting. So a lot of midweek action, a lot of great games next week too, Richard. I mean, and programming note, I won't be here next weekend. I'm traveling I have to go do my real job. I'm going to be on the road. What's that?
It's Milan Juve.
Yeah, I know. I'm ditching you when Milan Juve. Inter at Sassuolo, one of Inter's bogey team. Hats on the slate.
Udinese and Atalanta.
Yeah, that's correct. Atalanta at Udinese. You've got, and I think that's it. Is there a Monday game here? Yes, Fiorentina Lazio on Monday the 10th too. Ooh. So yeah. I know you're going to bring on an esteemed guest to help you work through this.
Yeah, we'll reveal it later in the week, but we're working on some things here. So,
yep. So, but any thoughts on those games looking ahead? Milan Juve could end up being a grind.
Yeah, I think
really, I got to see how. It's hard for me to lay a prediction on it this far in advance.
Yeah, I think Milan are certainly depleted. That it's going to be a difficult game for Milan. A grind. It's going to be a grind, like you said. I think I can see a draw in that game because of the injuries to Milan. I think Milan had their full complement of players. They could win this game. But I think a draw is very possible, especially at home. Sassuolo Inter. Ooh, that could be a barn burner there. Defense optional. Udinese Atalanta is going to be a low scoring game there. You'd be lucky if you get a goal in that game, honestly. And then what was that was the other main one, right?
Fiorentina Lazio on the 10th.
Yeah. I'm curious how Lazio plays on the road in this one. I'm going to say Lazio win that game 2-1.
Okay.
It's early, like you said.
What's that?
It's early, like you said. It's a week away. Yeah. It's a long. Lot can happen in this next week.
See how these teams do in midweek.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we've gotten through all of that. Let's wrap it up with the world's most hashtag game. Who won? Calcio Twitter. Lead us off, Richard.
All righty. First one comes up from AJ Fino alla fine, and it's a meme of everyone pointing at each other. It's like the Allegri out camp, the Pirlo out camp, and the Sarri out camp. The Juventini just don't know who they want as their manager. Nice. And it's everybody pointing at each other, so it's funny.
Nice. All right. Moving on. We've got Inzaghi would rather play this. Perisnich saying Inzaghi would rather play this man. It's Handanovic with a ball already back in the net, in the back of the net. In response to most saves so far in 2022-2023 Champions League, which is Andre Onana.
Yep.
Big Show replying, please reconnect to a controller.
It's so funny. It's because it's happened to me before. So yeah, that's great.
So would this be like a team effort?
What's
or
that?
Is this narrative? Is this Big Show's?
This is Big Show's.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Big Show once again bringing it.
All right. This one is a good one.
Long time ago.
This week's Capolovaro, the day Juventus died. Listen.
When Juventus used to make me smile. And I knew we may have a chance if Pavel Nedved went to dance and grope another young lady's tits in a bar.
What the hell is this?
But September thus far has made us quiver with every match we don't deliver. And it's bad news on the doorstep. We couldn't take one more step. I can't remember if I cried when I read about the financial side, but something touched me deep inside the day Juventus died. So bye-bye to the black and white sky. Drove my Rari to the mare, but the mare was dry. In good old Pavel, grabbing tits, dancing spry, singing, this'll be the day you let die.
Staring at the screen.
This'll be the day that they die. Did you write the book of tactics, and do you miss Cristiano's hat tricks? Though you were happy that he left. Do you believe in the coach can do and save our mortal soul? And that doesn't rhyme. I don't think, yeah.
That's the end of the song. Oh, that was brilliant. That's a brilliant right there. That's the brilliant right there. The chat loves it.
And that's Calcio podcast that did that?
Yeah. Shout out to them. Fantastic work there.
Well, we've got a leader in the clubhouse.
Absolutely. The Calcio podcast.
All right. So now moving on to Juventus FC. Sempre pronto a segnare Mirko Vucinic.
And you watch it because there's illegal play here. I'll turn the sound off. So Juventus never even stopped the ball. The goal never should have happened because, when the play stops, you stop the ball, then you get the free kick. And Pirlo never stopped the ball. He just kicked the ball. The referee allowed it to go. Watch, look, it's rolling. Okay, I'm going to go. And so that's the way they celebrate Juventus, by showing these cheap goals. And that's me nominating them. So. All right.
You got the next one there?
Yep. Eurofoot came out with Jose Mourinho has made a shock feature in rapper Stormzy's new single.
From Jose. So I prefer really not to speak.
Anyway, he's in the video, and this is Joe Cappuccino says Allegri if he were in the video. Oh, no riprendere, no. Don't film it. Why are you filming? Are you crazy? You'll get arrested. Nice there, Joe.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Joe. All right. I just want to remind everybody, we really have high standards at Serie A Sitdown. And I wanted to remind everyone of this oldie but goodie.
Don Totti.
I think I was drinking this night and just remembered having this in my files on Clipbox and just wanted to put it up there. So.
All right. Next is Yanimal nominated this from Gianmarco, and it says the U.S. haven't been beaten this badly by Japan since.
Oh God.
Yeah, I know. Jesus.
Too soon? No.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. So now we go to @CFC_Janty. No one has seen Ciro Immobile score, yet he always ends up as one of Serie A's
So
scorers.
the beginning of this thread is by Janty, CFC_Janty, and he says, football conspiracies everyone thinks about but does not say, a thread. And so one of them was Ciro Immobile scoring when no one ever sees him score. He's always the top scorer.
Oh, okay. Here's this thread. Okay, so Copa America was organized 4 times in 6 years, so Messi had a better chance to win an international trophy. Fabrizio Romano has not slept since birth. The Barca v Chelsea UCL tie in 2009 was rigged for Barcelona to win because they wanted a Messi v Ronaldo final. Jamie Vardy doesn't play football anymore, but still ends up with 15 Premier League goals every season.
Immobile.
Lionel Messi has never done a post-match. Jesse Lingard is still 23 years old. Manchester United posts Sir Alex Ferguson as a social experiment to see how much pain a man can physically take.
And then Ciro Immobile.
No one has seen Ciro Immobile score yet. He always ends up as one of Serie A's top scorers. Sir Alex used to swap Fabio and Raphael at halftime to get an extra sub.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Sevilla qualify for the UCL and deliberately try to finish third in the group so they can win the Europa League. Thomas Muller has been 32 since 2010. Ochoa has never played a club game but plays for Mexico at every World Cup. Dybala went from 21 to 28 overnight.
Yeah.
Nigeria only play against Argentina at World Cups and then disappear. People with the surname Dembele have a 99.9% chance of playing professional football. Sergej Milinkovic-Savic is always linked with every club, but no one has seen him play football.
Poor Lazio.
Burnley and Villarreal don't have an away kit.
It's true.
Belgium have never had a left back. Xherdan Shaqiri only plays football at international tournaments. Benjamin Pavard has only played one game his entire career versus Argentina at World Cup 2018, where he scored the wonder goal. Aston Villa and Borussia Dortmund released the same home kit every season. Casemiro randomly appeared at Real Madrid. Nobody knows where he came from. No one has seen Carlo Ancelotti celebrate a goal.
And that was it.
Oh, okay.
Good thread.
Oh, man, we could have nominated the whole thread.
I know.
But that was good.
Is it your turn or my turn? I already lost count.
I'll do the next one. Another one
over.
from Fino Alafine, 282, nominated by our friend Bob Lex. Allegri dragging Chiesa to the Milan match.
It's in the bed, can't move. You have to play. Get in there. All right, Bob Lex with another nomination. This one again, AJ. It's Allegri looking at a butterfly. Striker. Is this my new left back? When will Milik play left back?
At Semprista, these chants are getting more and more realistic.
Da Itália do mundo, dois campeões europeus e mundiais frente a frente, Juventus e Milan. Eu sou Gustavo Milani, ao meu lado, craque e amigo Caio Ribeiro. Fala, Guga, que jogar.
I don't know if you heard it. It's Allegri, Vafanculo. That's so realistic.
I'd love that to turn up in the video game.
That would be awesome. All right. Okay. So the 442 says the Blues face stiff competition for the Brazilian star as rivals enter race, and they have a picture of Leao. He's Portuguese. And so Abdullah says, hey, at AC Milan, they want the Brazilian star. Give them Junior Messias and don't hold the player hostage.
Let's see here. Let's see. Okay, so at Giallorossi USA, Roma shredded Inter and turned Uncle Sharma into Uncle Shawarma.
Let's see who else. Martin V in the house says De Zerbi was escaping from grenades 4 months ago, and he's already humiliating Liverpool at Anfield. But Allegri needs time to beat Sampdoria.
And finally, at Dirono, Martin Diron, once again getting nominated. Park the Bus 2022 edition.
They're embracing it.
Yeah.
They are embracing it.
They're buying in, aren't they?
They're buying in. I mean,
a
lot of good ones this week, but I think there's one winner for me.
Calcio podcast.
It's
not even a contest. So we will. I'll go ahead and retweet that, and you go ahead and speak to the people, please.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna take that music off so I don't listen to that again. Shout out to everyone in the chat, obviously. Lazio, thank you everybody for following us. Stay tuned. We are gonna try to post some videos here and there at odd times, so you probably have to catch them on the replay unless you're up all the time like I am. This started with the Inter Roma pre-match preview, I should say, last Saturday. But yeah, podcast will remain at the normal time, Sunday at 8:30. So don't worry about that. Keep that consistent. Dad, go check out the video. If you haven't checked it, yes, the game is over, but you can go check it out. And also the Kvaratskhelia conversation we had. So, we talk about a lot of good topics during our podcast. Our podcasts are long. We're going to share some of these clips that we have because we have some good conversations in our throughout the podcast. And Kvaratskhelia discussion with Rafa a couple weeks ago is a big hit. A lot of people are watching on YouTube every day. A lot of people watching. So good conversation there with Rafa. Again, thank him for coming on and talking good Napoli and talking about KK77, the Georgian wonder kid who is doing things in Serie A. 5 goals already in Serie A. So look out for them.
We'll just call him Dave.
Dave.
That's actually, I think that's a Chelsea chant with Aspilicueta.
Oh, okay. Dave.
We'll just call you Dave. We'll just call you Dave. Kvarach Kalea. We'll just call you Dave.
I like it.
Oh, man. All right, well, we'll put a bow on this edition of Serie A Sitdown before I start singing Dean Martin or something like that.
Yeah,
Richard, anything else to plug?
No. Shout out to my wife. There you go.
Yes. Thank you, Mrs. K, for taking care of the kids so that
Not
Richard
that she listens to us. But...
What's that?
Not that she listens to us.
Yeah, no, my wife doesn't listen to me, so don't worry. Serie A Sitdown, we have our own channel on Apple Podcasts and SoundCloud. We're on Stitcher, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever there's podcasts, there's Serie A Sitdown. If you are watching us on the YouTube channel and this is your first time doing so, please drop a like if you enjoyed the podcast. Also subscribe, click the notification bell. As Richard said, lots of video drops are going to happen. We take segments of this podcast, little clips that people can watch and listen to and enjoy. So it's kind of a nice way of getting around, listening to or watching a 1 hour and 50-minute podcast. I'm Italian. I like to talk. So
yeah.
So
it's a sit down. It's not to stand up and talk.
Yes. We're not in a hurry here. This is a sit down. We're sitting down and discussing this. So
and drinking.
Yes. At Serie A Sitdown on Twitter or Instagram. Questions, comments, future topics, anything you want us to cover, please hit us up there. Hit us up on Facebook too. And that's that. I'll be back with you in 2 weeks. Richard, you'll be back next week?
I will. Same time, same place.
So
with guests.
I will I'll write a few things down about the games this weekend.
Okay.
So
look out for some fan cam reactions from the Inter-Roma game as well, coming up in the next day or two.
Wonderful. We're going to get the fan cam thing going again. Yep. I like it. Okay, great. So that will do it for this edition of Serie A Sitdown. And enjoy the European matches this week. Milan, Juve next weekend, among some other really big games. For Richard, I'm Frank. As always, tell your paisans about us. Ciao.